Oh, we're on. Hello, and welcome to another fun-filled episode of You Can't Do That on Salesforce. Did that work? That didn't work. My dramatic effect did not work. I was hoping that you would see. Anyway, doesn't matter. I don't see any of you, but you maybe see me if you're watching. And we are on to week number 3 of Uno. My latest favorite new card game. Where did we leave off last week? We were shuffling records and relating records, and I don't know if we got through this part exactly. My stream cut short because I had a little technical issue, and it was so close to the end of the stream that I just said to heck with it. We'll just bail and we'll pick up next time. And that's okay. It's because here we are here now. So last week we did a lot of flows. And I'm going to try to get these on screen here. We were shuffling cards. And then we realized if we could shuffle cards, well, we could shuffle just about anything. So we shuffled cards, and then we shuffled players, and then we started player piles, and then we got into this wow loop here, which I'm just going to back out for dramatic effect. It's crazy how how much goes into this. Is a nested loop, and I see this pattern a lot when you have to build a relationship essentially between two records. So what we're doing here is, and what we did leading up to this was looping our users out of Salesforce, the ones that we selected, and inserting those players. And then we need the player records to create our piles. Our piles are basically decks. Well, not decks. They're what's the word? They're piles. I mean, they're collections of game cards. So, every game has a draw pile and a discard pile, and technically every hand that a player has is a pile also. So we can use that. We can also do some hopefully clever security stuff with all of that maybe we'll get to today. I don't know. But in order to have piles, we have to have players because the piles belong to the players. So insert players, create piles. So now I've got a collection of players and I've got a matching collection of piles, and I need to tell each pile. Let's see, is it tell each pile what player they belong to, or tell each player what pile belongs to them? I can't remember the data model offhand. We'll take a look and find out. Either way, we've got our players. We loop our players to get piles. We insert our player piles because we need IDs for both of them. And then we need to associate, right? So I've got this list of players. I've got this list of piles. They don't know about each other. And now I've got to associate the two. And actually, I don't know if I need to create the piles here. It might, which direction does it go in? Let's take a look at our data model and find out. I think I've got another tab open here somewhere. Doop. And look at all of our objects here. Maybe just as a quick review, I'm going to set up let's use Schema Builder and show what our schema looks like. I'm going to remove everything. And we have what? We have a game card. Gotta shrink this way down and find our stuff. All right, game card. We have player. We have card. We have what else? Pile. and we have turn. I think that's everything. All right, looks a little... How do we make this look nicer? Game card. Pile. We'll put you over here. Card to game card is pretty simple. Let's move player up here and move pile. All right, this is starting to look like something. What else is twisted here? Can we do that? Does that look a little better? Kind of. Can we put turn? No, turn's gonna have to live over here. Turn is a little crazy, but that's okay. So, I think this looks worse than it really is, because let's now zoom in. I'm going to grab a screenshot of this too. I'll move these all in a little closer now that we can read it. Here we go. Okay. Kick it out one. Can we? Can't really read that. Go a little lower. There. I think we're all on screen now. Maybe I can make it even bigger. Oh. Yep. Look at that. It's even legible. Okay, so where do we begin? First we have cards, right? This represents all of the cards in a Uno game. Definitions, if you will. We have a game. A game is some people playing Uno. So an instance of that. We have players. We're going to have 2 players per game. And the game is a master detail to the players. There's no point in having a player if you don't have a game. I'm going to open a soda. And we have a game card. So in order to have a game, you need to have cards, but we don't want to just reuse the cards that we have in our card object. We're going to create a game card so we can have a little bit of a relationship there. But every time we create a game, we create 108 game cards, and that's that. What did we miss? Then we have piles. So piles are collections of cards. So we have a lookup from game card to its pile. And this is the distinction of what do we do with our piles as we move them around, because we're going to have a game card is going to belong to a pile. And then a game looks up to its draw pile, its discard pile. We do that so we can shuffle those, because we can shuffle a pile. That's what we're trying to get to. And then a player has a hand, which is also a pile. So trying to reuse the pile model lets us do things like shuffle and also security. So the thought here is I can change the master in the master detail of the game card to pile. So I can change a game card from the draw pile to a player's hand just by changing the pile lookup on the game card. So fast forward to where we are right now. We are trying to get players and piles sorted out. So back here, we're creating players, and then we're creating piles. According to our data model, I got to have a player before I can have a pile, because I'm going to build the lookup on the player side. Technically, I suppose I could create the piles first based on the number of players that we have. And they should stay in the same sequence. So if I were to, maybe we do that instead, right? So instead of creating players here, we don't do that just yet. We move this down. We played our piles. Let's put it here, maybe. Let's see. We've sorted our players by their sequence, which means we've randomized them we're going to loop the players, and we're going to initialize piles, player piles. So the owner of the player is the player, the owner of the pile is the player, is the player's user, and then we add that. There's not much else to do there. A pile is just a pile, again, based on our schema. Not a whole lot. It's even auto-named. So I set the owner so that something actually is affected on the record, because in my experience, there are times when the if you don't change something in a loop iterator, nothing, it doesn't actually get added or touched or anything like that. So I don't know if that's still a thing or not. Okay, so we have that, and then so we're looping. We could create our player piles, because this sequence will match this sequence. And we want to go back through our players and define their hands. So that's really, this shouldn't even be player pile. I think this should be hands. Maybe we can tidy up our naming convention here. Let's see, let's call this, can I call this hand iterator? Hand iterator, cool. Let's init a hand here. And then we have something called player piles collection. Let's call that hands collection. And then instead of creating player piles, let's create hands. All right, so then we have an ID for each hand. Now we need to loop over the hand. So this is where it gets fun. Fun being not so much fun, because we're gonna do this a little different. We've got this big nested loop, and what we're basically doing is relating one source set of records to one destination set of records, and then telling it what field on the source maps to what lookup field on the destination. And in true Julia Child form, actually this is what we didn't finish last week, I have an invocable called relate records, which takes in a list of requests, and for each request we give it the source records. Our sources are going to be our hands collection in this case. Our relateds are going to be our players, so our players collection or whatever that is. The source field that we want to use for mapping is the ID on the hands, and then the related field that we want to use to populate is the hand field. So a good generic way to, frankly, get rid of this, because what we're seeing here is a nested for loop in Flow, and then here's a nested for loop in Apex. A little easier to read in my opinion, and also this is generic enough that we probably could get some reuse out of it. I've done this enough times where, you know, you create you're working with collections, you're creating an object based on an existing collection, but you don't want to insert it every time. You want to go build it and then get your results, but then you have to iterate again to build back the relationships. So this will save us, you know, all of this. And actually, I'm going to grab a quick screenshot of this, because I'm actually working on some content posts about this stuff, so that'll be useful down the road. Okay, so now we have we should have this. We should be able to reference this. And let's see, instead of all of this fun stuff, let's go here and we'll add an action. And we're going to relate records, relate hands to players. Here we go. Our related is our player. Our source is it's a pile, but that's our hands object. We are going to include the related field. The related field is hand. The related records are players collection. The source field, do these match? They don't. They don't match the order that they're, I don't know why. I think they're just, they're just alphabetical. I wish you could, sort them. Maybe you can. Maybe if you use a description. I bet you if you use a description, you'll get better results. And our sources are our hands collection. Okay, so that's done. We shouldn't need to do this, because if we step through here, sources are our hands, relateds are our people, are our players. I'm going to store each of those. So the related value here, this is literally the ID for the lookup, and I think it's a safe bet. I'm not doing a lot of error checking here, but it's a safe bet that this should really be an ID field, but that's okay. And I guess if we got a little bit more specific, so let me make sure we got our sources. This would actually be our source value, right? So, and then we're going to take our related, I just had these backwards, I think. This is related, actually, so this is related field. Yeah, I just had this backwards. So source field. So our source is hands, so we're going to basically get the ID from from the source. And then we're going to take our source value and put it into the related field. Voila. And let's save that and see if we actually got somewhere here. And did we save? What did we do here? Can I actually save? I forgot my push. My push is not pushing. I don't know why. Okay, so there's our thing. So that should be fixed now. And then we create players. And then I don't really want to do all of this. I also don't want to get rid of it. So we could probably just bypass. Can we just bypass that? We can't add a fault path, but we can add a... Let's add a decision here. Just skip old loop. I want to keep the old stuff. Eventually we're going to get rid of it, but I want to make sure that it actually works. So let's just say, what's an obvious thing that we can check? The current interview GUID is not null. Where is true or false? There we go. Interview GUID is not null. And then let's take this. We're going to cut all of it, put it. What did I say? Interview is not null. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we're going to just bypass our old loop and go straight down to our create first turn, which is also a subflow, so that we could... so this is a good example of using a flow similar to an invocable action, like use a flow to take parameters, because we don't just need to create a first turn, we need to create turns. So I've offloaded that responsibility to this create turn. If I can find it, duplicate this. And let's, it's no longer sweater or sweatshirt time. It is t-shirt time, because wow, it is warm. Okay, there we go. Pay no mind to the sofa that is totally not full of stuff. Okay, let's go to flows. create new turn is what gets called at the end of our flow here. So this is a little bit more, I guess, traditional flow. And to me, this even kind of borders on, there's definitely redundancy between these two, but we had to add some logic in to determine if if the turn is not complete, then we're not going to create a new turn. If the current turn, there's a notion of a current turn in the game. So if the current turn is not complete, we're not doing anything. If it is complete, well, are we in a reversed state of the game? Because Uno can flip, as we know, with the reverse card. And if we are reversed, then we have to pull out our next player versus, next in reverse is backwards from next in not reverse. That again could maybe be encapsulated. This is kind of a good example of, there's a lot of process outlined here when all we're really doing is like flipping a bit, right? So we're going from like, if we're reversed, we're counting backwards through the loop of players. If we're not reversed, we're counting forward through the loop of players. And then we also have to say, if we're going in reverse, are we at 0 and do we need to go back to the bottom? And if we're not reversed, are we at the bottom of the player list? Do we need to go back to the top? So all this is doing that. And, it's a lot. This is a complex flow, but it's also, this is as much as it gets, I think. I don't think we have to add any more logic in here. And then we are able to just call it here. So we need to start a game. After we start a game, we need to create a turn. Something we aren't doing right now yet is dealing cards to each of the players. So we're going to have to do that at some point here. Dealing, I don't know if dealing and what do you call it? Drawing are the same. That might be a stretch. I think we'll probably have deal maybe just be in here, and then we'll have draw be something else that we can really, when we take a turn, right? We need to draw, and honestly, the user doesn't need to do anything. You don't get to choose your card. You just get to draw one, and then you get to choose what to do with it. So actually, during create turn here, we might have draw card, right? Which would just be the top card off of the deck, draw pile, and it's yours, right? We change the relationship, and then boom, done. So I'm all over the place, but we'll get there eventually. Anyway, what we've got here is the bypass of, we're going to skip our loop. We're using our related records action to do what this was all doing before. And let's see what we get. I think we have some games already. I'm going to duplicate this again because you can't have too many tabs. And Uno should be a game or an app. And do we have some games? Oh, we have cards. Let's look at games. It's got a couple of games. And let's fire up create new game. It's debug. No inputs, so let's go. We're going to pick, we'll just pick 2 players for now. And how did we do? Okay, all done. Hypothetically, we have a bunch of stuff over in over on our games. We have a new game. What did we get? New game. We got 2 piles. as we should. We've got 2 players. We've got game cards. Now I'm an admin, so I can see everything. And again, I probably say this every week, but we will get to a point where players can't see, non-admin players should not be able to see a whole lot that's going on in Uno. In particular, looking at the what's in the decks, right? I don't want to know what's next. Discard is fine. Discard pile everybody can see, but the draw pile, nope, can't have it. It would be useful in this view to show what pile these game cards belong to, and maybe what card it represents, and its sequence, sure. And then, you know what, let's sort by that sequence, because we did all of our random mojo, and after we do our random mojo, now we can sort by that. I'm going to take these buttons away. We don't need them. Might as well. I'm here. Let's put the hand of the player. We can sort that by sequence as well, and we don't need to create those. And then turns. I don't think we have a order for those yet. Or we could probably use the turn name, because they're just going to be in. Why don't we put that in descending order so that we can see the latest turns first. There'll be a lot of turns in a game. Okay, save that. I want to make sure that our cards got piles. Hey, Quabi. Yes, it is recorded, and I have been doing a terrible job posting stuff to YouTube, but I have basically all the season 2 videos, and I'm going to get better at posting those, so eventually this will end up on YouTube as well, in case you missed anything. All right, how did we do? All right, so here's a problem. I don't think I actually inserted I didn't actually insert our hands. That's probably something we need to do. Did we do that? Let's see. We created hands. Oh wait, we initialized hands. And we added them to the hands collection. Oh, that is brutal. Okay, so something didn't happen. We made our players. We did not assign them hands. I have a feeling that we have hands out there in La La Land, because perhaps our function of assigning the hands to the players didn't happen. Can we look at hands? Let's look at hands. Let's bring up the dev console and select ID name from pile. And let's see, created date. There we go. What did we get? I bet you this is draw and discard, and I bet you these are what do you call it? These are our hands, and they just didn't get associated with anything. So let's see where we missed it. Not our schema. That was our new game test. So we're going to go way down here, and here's where we're initializing hands. Hands collection. Let's see. I wonder. Loop through selected users, init player. Shuffle our players. And then sort them by sequence. Oh, did we not add them? No, they're there. We must be, it looks like we're looping something. Yeah, it looks like we're looping something that doesn't exist. Loop players, current iteration item null. That's interesting. Let's see what we're looping in loop players 2. Oh, wait. I think we have to pick the sorted. All we have is a players collection. So it's not that. When we sort players by sequence, does that let us keep our does that let us keep our collection? It almost feels like it's lost after that. Because this is a little weird. Loop players 2. We did a collection sort. Maximum number of items to keep. That's fine. Sort by empty string and nulls first. So we have this. Then loop players, that's empty. But we're looping the players collection. Is it because... Is it because they don't have IDs? That's strange. Oops. Well, we got players, though. And we did we initialized 2 hands here. So maybe this is just false positive. Because it looks like it's looping. And we're not actually using anything... we're not using anything from the... Well, we are. We're using the... when we initialize the hand, we take the current player, so loop players 2, yep, the user, which we populated up above. So it is doing all that. So that's not the issue. We create our hands. And then we call our invocable, right? So we pass in our 2 players, we pass in our piles, and then we come back and we have, hand is null, hand is null. So here's the problem, right? So we're not getting something. When we pass to our invocable, looks like that's where our problem is. So then our invocable should have the sources. Sources equal hands. Relateds equal players. So we loop over the sources. Because the sources and the relateds should be the same. And take our sources. So source X, related X, the source value. Here. Source. That's the problem. Yep. That is the problem. We were pulling, it's not, related's not going to have that value, and I think it would probably be null. So I think we solved it. So let's, we have some hands that are, what I might just do is let's just delete, let's delete all of our games. Because we'll just clean slate, and then I think we should delete all of our piles, probably. Because we don't necessarily have a relationship for these piles that we've created, they looks like they don't exist. So, all right, deleting our games, deleting our piles, starting fresh. All the data should be fresh now. I'm going to close this and run it again because I just don't know if the apex is cached or something weird, and we made an update to it. So we're running, pick 2 users, boom, done. Now, back to our games. Game 06, draw a pile, discard pile. I can't remember if we're keeping these or not. We'll have to see if it's necessary. Related. There we go. Player 12 has pile 11. Player 13 has pile 12. It's totally not confusing numbers. We've associated all of the game cards with the pile. The draw pile. I think that's the draw pile. Will it tell us? Maybe we can have a type on our piles. Let's do that. So it's a little easier to tell what they are. And can I do that from here? Pile, dude. Okay. I'm really glad that drag and drop new custom objects and fields into the schema. I've honestly never used this function before. I mean, let's see. I want to put a pick list on pile. Let's call it type. And that's going to be game draw pile, game discard pile. And you know what? The thing I don't like about this is it's not going to let me do my super handy permission set mojo. So I'm going to do it over here. All right, pick list. Type. Game draw pile, game discard pile, and player hand. Do we need to say pile in each of these? Do we need to say these? I think we could just say draw, discard, and hand. Can always come back and change them, I guess. Okay. Restrict. Do not set. We will set them ourselves. Access to Uno admin and refresh. Actually, let's save that. I don't want to lose anything. All right, refresh now. Okie dokie, back to where we are here. So we're going to, let's set some types here. The owner and the type is, this is our draw pile. This is our discard pile. And the rest are down here. Yeah, I'm going to have to remove that and put it back down at the bottom. This is what, our hand iterator. Type equals hand. And then I'm never confident that, I probably shouldn't do this, but I prefer to save an element step. So we'll take that away and put it at the bottom. I feel like these go boom, boom, boom sequentially, and then I don't know. I'm probably wrong, but I feel like I've added things to the collection without the variable being set, and then it's like as soon as it's added to the collection, I can't. It doesn't have a reference to it anymore, so that's why we're doing that. That's done. Save Yahoo. Type on our pile. Let's delete and rerun. Was it that fast? Probably was that fast. There wasn't that much to do. Okay, well, let's find out. Ooh, that's not our game. No games. No games. Back here. Debug. And go. 2 players. And done. And all games. Game 7. Draw pile, discard pile, got them. Related. We got players with piles. We got game cards all in the draw pile. If I click on the pile, it's not on my page layout. That's okay. Is that okay? Let's edit this page. I didn't think I customized this yet. Did I not put it on the page layout? Type. Ooh. It's just cached. There it is. Type draw. Let's see. Okay, we got draw. Oops, darn it. Close you. Wait, go back. Okay, we got draw pile. We got cards in the draw pile. The pile does not. Pile doesn't know anything. It is a child of, well, wait. No, again, the relationship direction is pile, and then the game looks up to the game card is a master detail of the pile, and then permission to the pile is based on, right, okay. Meanwhile, the hands are looking, or I'm sorry, the player and the game are looking for their piles. Right, okay. Well, let's just go back to our game. Okay. Got our game card. So everything's in the draw pile right now. So now we need to deal some cards around the horn to the players. And that's going to happen in here somewhere. Also, it feels like skip old loop. We can basically get rid of that. It looks like it's all working. So let's delete this. We're going to delete everything. I think so. Goodbye. So much easier. Now it's a long flow, but it's very sequential. We're doing a couple of loops. They're all initializers. I can't think of a way to avoid that, really. Like, I don't think you could encapsulate the logic in these unless maybe you had a, clone kind of, not even a clone. I guess this could be a create related, I guess, but you have so many other things to deal with, like, well, how do you map the fields and how do you do this and that? So I think those are just loops, right? They're so specific that they just don't they just don't make sense any other way. And that's fine. Maybe some of this, there's probably some way to abstract. What is going on? You guys like my hair? Wow, it's crazy. This happens every week. Right there. That part right there, and just the angle and the head. And yeah, maybe I just need a haircut. Okay, so what have we done? We got players, we got a game, we got game cards, we got players, we got piles, we got hands, we got piles everywhere. We got cards in the draw pile. Now we need to loop again over our, doesn't even have to be our players, it could just be our hands. And how many cards do you get in a Uno deck? I think you get 7. Let's find out. Uno. Where's my chat GPT? Chat GPT knows everything, including how to play Uno. Let's see here. How many cards does a Uno player start with? I think it's 7. 7. Thanks, ChatGPT. Oh, I'm doing this doing this off on a screen over here. Sorry. 7 cards. So we're going to need to iterate on that number. Let's call it new card counter. And that's going to be a number and no decimal places. And we'll go 0. We'll do 0 index stuff here. That's done. Okay, so we're going to basically loop the, see, this is fun. Again, we need to do something within a loop. We're going to loop 108 cards. But we really only need like the first 14. So I think we can we'll short circuit the loop after 14, and hopefully we can just break out of it at that point. But let's see, we need to loop our hands. We've created our players. So let's loop hands. Do we already have something named that? Nope. Our hands collection. And then a decision. What do we say? What do we call that? We call that new card counter. All cards dealt? Question mark. Yes would mean that our iterator or our counter is greater than 6, I think, right? Because we're going from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I think it's the 7 cards. If it is, then let's go to here. Right? Just bail out. If not, we are going to do... if not, we're going to loop again. We're going to loop game cards. And we could probably have a game. We're going to need a game This is where it gets tricky because, well, I certainly could just loop all the cards, but what I need to do is say, okay, the starting index for this loop, like at the beginning, it's 0, right? And if we have 2 players, I'm going to assign index 0 to player 1's pile, index 1 to player 2's pile. Then repeat. That's all we needed to do there. So I could bail out. But when I come back around, what index am I starting at? I'm starting at index 2. And then this is nasty, right? Because then I have to spend a lot of time looping up through those. We could certainly do that, right? We could have our counter, essentially have our starting index be a variable that we store at the end of each of those. And then as we loop, we have our counter, right? And it just skips the other stuff until it gets down to the bottom. And I think that's what we're going to have to do, because again, this is like this whole act right now is not something that we would that we would deal with, right? So that we would want to build a certainly wouldn't want to build. I can't think of a way to abstract this down to something that's reusable as an invocable. This whole kind of dealing action. Now we could make a flow that just deals cards, right? That might be, as we build this out and realize like, this is nasty. Then maybe we build a subflow and it handles dealing cards, which we could eventually use in other cases as well. So I think we're just resigned to having to do that. Smear with me 1 second. All right. Let's see. So we're gonna loop. All right, we're gonna loop our game cards, and that's game cards collection. After we come out of this, I know we have to go back in there, but I'm gonna. Okay. Oh goodness, what's going on? What is making noise? Let's reload this. Sometimes I don't know what rings to my, I have another screen up and it's got another Google on and it was just ringing to that. Okay. Let's increment, what was that called? Counter. Increment new card counter. Okay, so we're going to come back to our looping here. But we're going to, let's see, is that right? We actually need to, we're out of our loop, right? Right, so we're going to go around the horn and hand those out. Okay, so we're looping our game cards. And we are going to, we're going to need a couple more incrementers here. Let's think about this. We need the starting. We need a variable called starting game. Say next game card index. All right, so that'll be a number. And start at 0. And let's see. So then we're gonna loop each card. So then we need that's just 0, right? After each of those, we're going to increment next game card index. Okay. So no matter what, we're going to do that. Then we're going to, then we have to check and see. So then each time we come in and do, we haven't dealt all the cards. We need to reset our next game card. See, this is what I mean. Like, you can just write this as some code, but okay. No, we're gonna do it. We're gonna. This is gonna work. All the cards dealt are when my where are you? Where are the variables? New card counter equals, this is probably a misnomer, but all right. So when new card counter gets to 6, we don't do any more. We don't do any more looping. Otherwise, we pass through. See, I need this above. This is part of the problem. I need this above, right? I think so. All cards dealt, yes. If not, then so we'll have to, yeah. So we'll have to do this. I was looping at the wrong level. So instead of looping hands here, I want to loop hands. Oh, I can't do that. I need to. I'm actually gonna delete that. So if all cards are dealt, then we're gonna go create first turn. Otherwise, we're gonna loop. Yeah, all right. I was totally lost there. Here we're gonna loop hands. Hands collection. Okay. Looping the hands, and then within that, after this, we have to, I think we have to add a step, because I don't think we can redirect after a, because what I want to do is loop hands after the last, increment new card counter, and then I want to go back to here, right? Go back into all cards dealt. And I can't do that for some reason, because I think we have to, well, we need the step after that, right? This is gonna, wait, paste elements, no. I don't know what elements I have there. So that's connected to first turn. So then I don't want to go to this step. I want to go back up to here to retest that. So we'll get to that in a second. But let's work in here for a minute. So we're going to loop our hands, loop our game cards. We're going to set, before we do that, right, we need to reset our, are we resetting there? No, we're not. We're resetting here. This is reset game card index. Okay, sorry. Nothing more fun than getting news about the car repair that needs to be done. 1 second. Okay. Okay. I think I have some variables that I need to fix the naming of. Reset game card index. Do we actually have that? I'm actually going to create that. So, game card index number 0 default 0. Okay, and then we're going to set that to 0 here because we're going to do another iteration because we haven't dealt all of our cards. All right, from there, I want to change the name of this other. It's not really where next game. It's more like starting. This variable is, we'll call this starting game card index. I think that makes sense. Increment starting game card index. Okay. And reset game card index, loop hands. For each hand, loop the game cards. Right, reset the index. And then here we have to do a decision. Whoops. Index equals starting index question mark. Yes. Game card index. If it does, then we're going to ultimately increment that. We're always going to increment Okay, we're always going to increment that. Once again, kind of a crazy loop situation. So reset our index, loop our hands, loop our cards. Does the index equal the starting index? Oh wait, because we only want to give that card. If it equals the starting index, we want to set game card pile to hand. Current loop game cards pile equals this is loop hands dot ID. Okay. Set game card pile to hand, and then do we want to increment our starter here? Let's see. We're looping our hands. We're looping our game cards. We have to enter based on the starting index. And we're only going to increment the... Do we want to increment the starting index here? I think we have to. But then we want to go back to then I think we want to go back to our loop, right? Yes. So for each, does it equal yes, increment, new, no, we want to go back to loop hands, I think. We want to go here up to loop hands. I think that's right. This is probably begging the need to pull this out into its own thing, because what's going to happen when there's a scenario in the game where if we are dealing, we shouldn't ever have an issue where we're dealing cards and we need to reshuffle the deck, right? We would have an issue where, like, say we need to draw 4, I can only draw 2, and then I need to shuffle the discard pile so that we have a card that we can play, that we have cards that we can draw from again. But that's not going to happen here, thank goodness, because this would get even crazier. Okay, let's talk this through. We reset the game card index. Am I thinking about this backwards? I guess that's the other way of looking at this. Is it better to loop the game cards? It might be. It might be better to loop the game cards because we're just going to loop those no matter what. I think it would be the same. It might be easier. I think that's easier. This is crazy. So if we loop the game cards and then we say, essentially the number of players times the number of cards equals how many we should dole out. We're going to go the other way. So we still have to say all cards dealt. And I think I'm gonna kill all of this, yeah. Oh, I can't. Let's delete that. Let's delete that. Then let's delete that. Okay, and then let's delete this. So I think we're gonna have some starting card index. We have some other variables that we need to get rid of. Game card index. I'm just gonna reset game card index. Where are you? Yep. Let's get rid of that. And I just realized I think our turn we've lost also, but that's okay. All cards dealt. No. Then let's loop. So we actually won't even do all cards dealt. We'll just bail when we hit our number, right? And then let's turn. All right, create new turn. And we'll pass it our game ID. There. So before that, we're going to loop game. This is going to be so much easier. See, I sometimes you get a little lost and you kind of forget what you got to do. But that's okay. We're going to loop card games, or loop game cards, and we're going to ask ourselves. So we do need a game card index, right? New resource, game card index. Oh, that is already in use. Okay, game card index. Yes, starting at 0. All right, and then let's make a formula. Can we do that? Do we need to? How do? I just need to know the number of players times 7, or the number of players times 7, and so we probably just set a variable, right? Create players, assignment, set player count variable, set players count variable, I guess. And new variable players count is a number. Okay, so players count equals count players collection. There. Set players count, loop cards. Let's make a formula. Game max game card index. And that's a number, which equals players count times, we probably should let's make a constant. Well, I'm just going to say times 7 right now. Good. And then let's make a constant called hand cards count. And that's a number, and that's 7. And then we can go back to our formula. Where's the formula? Max game card index equals that times Hand cards count. Okay, good. So now we've got variables to do things with. So our game card index starts at 0. We need to do a decision here that says hand, what did we call that? I'm terrible with remembering the names of these things. Let's see. Hand cards count, right? Hand cards count reached? Question mark. Yes. This is reached when game card index is greater than or equal to hand cards count. And then I don't think we need max game card index anymore, right? Like there's no, we're just going to increase the index, and we basically just want the index to stay less than 14 if we're doing 2 players. And if we're doing 3, we want it to be less than 21. So I think I can delete this. Yes, okay. Let's save before I lose stuff and am sad. Okay, so if it has been reached, then we bail, right? And what is going on? Hang on a second. I gotta check on my dog. 1 minute. Dear, left the dog in his crate. Poor thing. It could have, it would have been catastrophic. Huh? Yeah. You're gonna survive. It is hot in here. Yeah. Huh? It is. Whew. Let's open this up a little bit. I don't know if that's gonna help. It got hot in New York. Suddenly. Not really suddenly. It's been. Oh, that's nice. Ooh, that breeze. Yep. That was the right decision. There we go. Sitting mode, because standing mode is making me hot. I gotta get a little closer here. Okay. All right. If we reach the hand count, then bail. Otherwise, we're gonna loop our hands. Loop hands. And that's our hands collection. Okay. I'll loop those. And then for each hand, we are going to assign, we're going to set game card pile to hand. Yes. So current game card pile equals current hand ID. This is exactly what we just did. And there's that. And then let's increment. I suppose I could do that in the same, right? And then we can say game card index, add 1, done. Okay, we loop through all of our hands. You're never gonna not give someone a card, so it's not like we have to check the index during this. But we exit, we come back to the next card. Have we reached our limit? If so, bail, and then create our new turn. Before that, though, we need to update our game cards, right? Because we've made changes to them. So let's update game cards. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and be lazy. I'm gonna just update them all. I'm gonna update all 108. It's fine. Only, 14 have been changed, but they're already in the collection. They've got the new value. My alternative would be to have an updated game cards collection that I would add those game cards to, and then I'd only be updating 14. I think we'll be okay. This was way easier than the dumb thing that I was trying before. Am I right? Like, this is perfectly reasonable, like kind of flow mojo. We're looping our cards. Have we reached our limit? Our limit is based on a formula. If we haven't reached our limit, loop each of our hands, give everybody a card, and then we also increment our counter, right, which we're evaluating here. If we hit the limit, boom, we're actually not going to create new turn. We're going to go to, we're going to reroute to update, and then we'll create our turn. So let's see how we did. Got a lot of stuff up here. Game flows, create new turn. Let's not do anything there. Debug. So the end result here should be those game cards that we created should now have new piles that they relate to. The first 14 in our sequence should have a new pile. Did we sort our... I think we did. I think we sorted our game cards. Sort game cards, yep. So our game cards are sorted by their sequence, which gives us the random stuff that we're looking for. So we should be good there. And we save them in that sequence as well. And yeah, let's go. Pick 2 users. All done. Probably should have deleted first, but that's okay. Let's go to games, game 8. Draw pile, discard pile. Let's see, game cards. Uh-oh. I don't think we were successful in our looping here. Because we should have... These should be different piles now. Let's see what happened at the tail end of this. Let's create new turn. This is our list of cards. A lot. Let's see. TJ. Something didn't happen here. We didn't hit the... It's setting them though. Loop game cards dot pile, then sets the game index. KFT, KFTL, KFTM, and then our values here are all still KFTJ. So maybe what we have to do is maybe we do have to recreate the updated stuff. Is that a thing? Can I not act upon the records? I think that's the issue. I can't act upon the records that I'm. Yeah, I don't think I can. If I'm in a loop, a flow loop, I don't think I can act on the records that we're looping over. So we do have to create a updated game cards collection. I can use my iterator again, I think. Game card. Nope. Oops, what did I do there? Game card. All right, so instead here, we can still increment game card index. Let's just reuse this. Actually, yeah, we can, let's init updated game card. So we can still do that. We can use our game card iterator again. And let's set the ID equal to the current game card's ID. And let's set the game card iterators pile to the current piles ID. And then just for fun, I like having these at the end when I'm doing something different, so we'll get rid of that. Oh, and then let's add updated game cards collection, add our iterator. Then we're updating the updated game cards collection. I think that will do it. Let's find out. Well, that's taken a second. Did it work? Okay. Let's delete our data. Here we go. Oh. You know, when the bus shows up, you got to get the kids off of it. You got to be out there to get it. Or they might not give you your kids. Good learning. All right. We should have no data now. No games. All right. We should pause for dramatic eating effect. Why do I always do this? Why can't I just eat before? I don't know. All right, let's debug again. We changed. We're using an update. We're using a separate. What do you call it? A separate collection to do our update. I think that'll work. Famous last words. And run. 2 players. Let's go. Uh-oh. Blew up. 2 or more items in this collection have the same ID value. Well, that's weird. Oh, wait. Wait. We're going to have the same problem. We're going to have the same problem because you can't escape it. I was thinking simply, too hopeful. Because I need to loop the game cards, but I need to loop the hands, but I can't right now. I'm giving every game card to the to that hand, right? And that's I'm giving the same game card to multiple hands. I don't want to do that. I need to same situation, right? Give to the you know what could be easier here is to say get collection, get record by index, because that's really what we're dealing with here. So if I could write an invocable that said, hey, I want give me the record at this index. Give me the record at this index. I have my counters, right? I can't avoid those. But at least the act of accessing something at a certain index would be a whole lot easier than doing this crazy loop thing, right? So maybe Mr. Little Alien pen guy says we should do that. From now on, Mr. Orange Pen Guy is in charge of the stream. Anyway, I like this idea. Let's try it out. Because this is another invocable. All right, so let's make a Apex class called get record at index. Get record by index, I guess. Invocable. And then I think I'm just going to steal a lot of this. I think it's going to look a lot alike. Right? These don't need to be sharing, I don't think. That was a chipmunk. We still need to pass in requests. We're going to pass in our records. This is the collection that we want to get the index out of. And then I think we just need a integer, which is the index. And then we are going to just return the S object. I think we need to return a list of S objects. Technically, is that right? Can I do that? This is going to be the returned records. Oops, keyboard fell apart. There we go. That's going to be, I think we can do that. So for each request, let's say returned whoa, we're shouting, add request dot, this is records, sorry. Request.records at the index of request.index. We really only need to pass one request. Like, I don't think we're ever gonna because then we can just return. Man, I always get kind of turned around with flows, with invocables, and what I'm allowed to do and not do. I'm going to call this in the context of one and only one loop. And in doing so, I'm going to I'm going to return one. I'm going to return the record that we care about. So can we do this? Okay. We're really just going to return request.records at the index. That's it. That is it. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm sitting way far back. Oh. Oh, okay. Unsupported type. Valid invocable parameters must be a list where T is a supported type. Okay, so we need list request dot requests. So I think we have to do what we were originally planning to do. I'm going to do it, and then let's see what always trying to figure out what are the parameters going to look like when we're done. So let's see here. Invocable, oh, do not type. Let's return a list of Is it just because of my conversion? Let's see. Okay, that worked. So now let's refresh this. Okay, we've got our new invocable. Gonna loop our game cards. Have we reached our count yet? Loop our hands. Let's call our action. Let's get game card by index. Oh wait. Okay, so we're going to pass in our game cards. And then we're going to return a game card. I keep losing my... What the... my keyboard, the caps lock key keeps falling off. There. Okay, the index is game card index, right? And the records are our game cards collection. So then we can spin this back around, I think, and just loop our hands. Because I'm going to get the game card back based on the index that we are looping. And if we're not at our limit, right? So we take all of this, we cut it. We can't paste it? Wait, what? Take this, cut all paths, paste here. So what are we doing? We're checking our counter. We're looping our hand, right? So for each hand, we're getting a game card by the index that we have, which is game card index, right? After which we increment game card index, go back to our hand, and then we're going to do that till we exit that loop. And then from and then we're going to go from here back to evaluating this, delete this, and you can't delete this. You remove all card references to the loop. Init updated game card. Oh, okay. So instead of looping, we want to use our get game card. Get game card.id. Get game card. Oh wait, no, this is our loop. Probably could have left that. loop hands.id. Add our index, updated game cards. That's our iterator. Now we can get rid of this. Right? 1 hand increment, 2 hand increment, 3 hand increment, 4 hand increment. Out, evaluate, again, do. Yes, that's what we're doing, I think. Last time we ran this, it failed. Right? So, yeah. Do we have? I don't think we have any data. No, everything rolled back. Okay. Let's debug this then. Okay. Let's debug. Two players. Here we go. All done? Did we update our... That's our sub. Yep, here's our JK, 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 JK. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Close. Something is incrementing that I guess probably should not be. Game card index is 8. Oh, did we lose our size? Did we lose our... Maybe we lost our variable for... No, set players count variable. Do we have that in here? I can't really see in that. Okay. That's a bummer. Game card index 5. I wish I could find that. Oh, set players count variable. Yes. Hand cards count. 7. Oh, did we delete? Did we delete a variable there? It's not hand cards count. It's the other one. It's the formula. Where's the formula? Maybe if I close some of these up, I could actually like not completely lose my mind. Did we lose the formula? I think we did. Okay. Let's put our formula back. This is max game card index. Yeah, because that would be... And then that is... players count times hand cards count. Yep. So we're starting at 0, and if it's greater than or equal, it'd be 14 or higher. So we got through 13. Okay, yeah, so we're... there we go. Can hearts count reached. There we go. Okay. Now, I think, well, with what did happen, let's see if we kind of got what we needed. The debug data suggests we did. So I've got, so here's draw 4. Yes, all right, cool. So it failed correctly. We got through this. I think we might still have an index situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Should have, well, that's curious that all of these are draw 4s. That doesn't look right. That looks like we're all pointing at the same card still. Yeah, that looks wrong. Yeah. Those are all pointing at the same card, which... should be incrementing my game card index. So when I come back in here to my next hand, I get the next game card index out of that collection. We're looping our hands. What is get game card by index return here? So I would expect this first go around to be 7TA, and it returns 7TA, and then this next one would be 7UA, and it's 7UA. So are we setting it wrong in here? Game card at a record, get game card by index. Wait a second. Let's see. Get game card by index. No, that's the record that... the record ID is the ID. And then the pile is the loop that we're currently in. We increment that. We add it to the iterator. Maybe those need to be flipped? Because this looks like all the same card. Yeah. So all of our game cards have been related to the same card, and there's not that many draw 4s in the game. Well, are there? No, there shouldn't be that many. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't think there's 12 draw 4s in a... let's see. That would be way too convenient, right? And no, they're all... well... Uh, where is my, is it here? Let's play Uno. Oh wait, no, this is not it. I had my instructions here somewhere. Uno deck list. Yeah, so there's 8, so it's not that. Order this by our sequence. 8 draw 4s, which technically would be okay, but it's not. Something is not looping. What variable am I passing into this? Game card index, right? And then we update that. So we should be passing in a different parameter each time. And the debug suggests that we are getting different values back. So let's try it again. Delete our stuff. Okay. Debug you again. Run. 2 players. Ran the stuff. And refresh. There's our game. Did it again. So it's assigning the same card. Can I find this ID in our debug? Oh, wait, am I looping the wrong thing somewhere? I bet you I am. Or it feels like I am. Oh, no. That's just, where are we? We're just looping. No, here we're just building cards, and let's get this up to 108. That should be when it ends. Game card iterator. That's still init game card iterator. So we're still up here, right? Where are you? Let's go a little further. Those are our game cards. We're creating that. Update game cards. Update game card whose IDs are stored in that collection. Our number looks more correct this time. Yeah, we got way too many draw 4s. because it's just replicating. Something down here. We're in update game cards, right? I could set the I think what's happening is the iterator is retaining the value. Yeah, that's what's happening. The iterator is retaining the values, and because we haven't changed them, we have to reset the iterator. Or at least get rid of the card field. I think that's it. So game card iterator dot card the problem is I don't want to null it out. So I think what we're going to need is a second iterator here. Let's call this the update game card iterator. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do. Update game card iterator dot ID equals that thing. Update game card iterator dot pile equals that index, sure, and then update game card iterator, add to the thing, save. Think that's the deal. Never knew that. Probably haven't run into this where we're using an iterator, and it's just it's got to be that's the last value in the array up above of all of our cards, so it's just hanging on to it. Problem is I don't think I can null it. I can't reuse that variable because I don't know how to null it without, I want to clear the value, but I don't want to send that null value. Otherwise all of my game cards would have no more cards and I'd be sad. I think that was the problem. Well, we'll find out. Let's delete our stuff again. Clean slate. Let's run our flow again. Debug. Pick 2. All done. All games. Drum roll. There we go. That looks a little better. 35, 36. Boom, down to 14. Cool. Thumbs. We're all thumbs. This pile is a player's hand, and it's got these in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cool. That's something. All right, so we have... What have we done? Game, draw pile, discard pile, game cards, all in the draw pile, hand piles for each of the players. We got players, then we loop the hands, we deal out cards. Everybody gets 7. They're assigned to the hand pile instead of the other pile, the draw pile. And now we have a game ready. So here we are. Now that we have a game ready, what do? We revel in our, greatness, I guess. No, not really. We figure out what to do with from here. So we create a turn. Let's go back to the game. Oops. So the game has a turn. It's the next turn. And it says, drawn count. I don't think we've actually drawn anything yet, right? In that turn. We are going to draw. And we might need one more card. Do we need to know what the next card is? No, we don't. We just need the top card of the draw pile, right? Yeah. So when we start a turn, do we know who the player is, whose turn it is? Yes. Okay. So we know that it's player 24, which is U2. We know drawn count's a little bit of a misnomer, but that's okay. We're going to go into create new turn, get the latest, create the next turn. We need to get the next player. We need to get the next card, right? Get next game card. And this is going to be game card, where game equals, we're passing a game ID in here, right? Yep. We're going to sort ascending by sequence, because they're random now. We're only going to get the first card. Okay, and we're going to set game card and turn fields. So the pile is changing here. Do I have that? Next player dot hand, right? And then the turn okay, so set game card hand. I think that's all we're going to do here, because I think we're constructing the, yeah, create next turn. And what was drawn is get next game card .id. Okay, so when we run a turn, we just give the card to the player because you don't have a choice. The exception to this would be if the prior turn was a draw 4 or a draw 2 or a skip or a reverse. Oh, actually reverse wouldn't matter, right? Because if I play a card and then the next player reverses, they played their card and then it's coming back to me. So I'm either drawing a card or I'm yeah, so if the previous card was which I think we have, right? Do we have that coming in here? We're getting the latest turn. So the latest would be the previous. And then down here, we would have to do some logic to say what just happened. Because I wouldn't want to just get, well, you know, again, I could just get it by index. And if I get it by index, then we could just count from, it's basically an iterator. It's basically an iterator each time, right? The iterator is either 1 or 2 or 4 or 0, right? Because I think what we need to do is check. We actually need to check for skip. So we base that on the. Oh, that's fun. What might makes I don't know, is it useful to track the fact that someone was skipped? Does that count as a turn? Because we could basically just call new turn again, right? They just don't pick up a card, but that's kind of the whole point. We'll have to come back to skip because we could also get down to the point of, we could get to here, right? We could say, see, I think creating a turn makes sense because even though it's a little bit redundant, having that record that could be automatically done, we could even delete it, right? If we wanted to. We could have an outcome, right? Or, we could have status skipped, right? We had a status of skipped, and then as soon as we do that, we immediately call create next turn again. Because you can only ever skip one person. So I might say we do that. That would probably make it easier. So we're down here. Create new game seems like it's in pretty good shape. Create new turn. Our logic happens here, right? We'll call this evaluate evaluate last turn. Is that what we call it? Evaluate latest turn. Okay. And then the outcomes here could be if the latest turn was skip, draw 2, draw 4, so this might be the case where we do want the current card and the current card and color, because we could have a wild card situation, but not yet. So our latest turn is either going to be skip, draw 2, draw 4, or just, the default. Yeah, that's fine. So if we skip, what is that going to be? That's going to be latest turn. Dot discarded dot card dot action equals skip. Draw 2. Latest turn, discarded card action. Draw 2. Draw 4. Latest turn, discarded card action. Draw 4. Reverse is normal. We just flipped the. Well, actually. Is that what we need? Okay. Yeah. I was just trying to think about reverse and when that kicks in. I don't think we have that squared away yet. But this whole sequence is, again, I think it's like the iterator, right? So because we're gonna, if I skip, I'm not picking a card or setting the game card hand. The game card. Set game card hand. Right. If I'm drawing 1, which is basically the default outcome, so I think the let's call this let's create a called set let's set draw count to 0. Okay. Then we need a new variable called draw count. And that's a number. We're gonna make that, I'm gonna make that 1 by default, even though I'm gonna set it everywhere because 1 is what it normally will be. But draw count here equals 0. Copy, paste. We're gonna set draw count to 2. Draw count equals 2. We're gonna set draw count to 4. Draw count equals 4. And then just to be consistent, set draw count to 1. Okay, so now we can loop, right? We're going to loop again. Actually, we're just going to have a condition that says let's make a, so current draw index, that's a number. Current draw, let's see, draw count reached, question mark. Yes. Draw count is reached when draw count I should say this is draw count, right? Current draw index equals but I guess we should start because the draw count's going to be 4, so I guess, well, we could just change the draw count to 3 if we're going to be 0 based. I already did all that, so can we just flip that to draw count less than or equal to yeah, it still doesn't. This is, I'm starting to lose it. Let's see. Well, let's just start these all at a, I just basically said the same thing in both directions. Draw, if current draw index is greater than or equal to draw count, just want it to look that way. Draw count, we're going to start with 1. Current draw index, we're going to start with 1. right? So if the index is greater than the draw count, so 1 would be greater than 0, 1 would be equal to 1, 1 would be less than 2. So yeah, I think we're good. So if our draw count is reached, we're gonna bail out of this. We will move these. We don't want to create... We'll create next turn at the end. From here, we're going to go back up here. There is something in a turn that is drawn count, so we can increment that. We have to increment our current draw index. Here we could set our drawn count to our draw count, because that's going to be right. And will that work? Will it remember get next game card coming into the other side? I wonder. Because I want to reference this from over here, so I can just set the most recently drawn card here. We won't track all of them. That's just too much logic. And okay, so I think, let's try it. Do we need to, I think we need to save this as a new version, right? So we have made this a little bit wilder now, but Wow. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Little robot guy here at the bottom. Let's try it. The default outcome will be the 1. So that shouldn't be, because we have a condition where, well, if we don't have a turn yet, then we can't look at the latest turn because we haven't created one yet. That should still fall through. So let's create new game. Let's debug again. Let's see how we do. Okay. We have a turn. We didn't get our drawn card populated. Why is that? Okay. That was as expected. We didn't get our... See, I think it would be better if we initialized a... wait, wrong page. Let's create a variable for the turn, right? Instead of just compiling it all here, because I think we can gather our variables elsewhere. Let's init. Actually, wait. We don't really even need to do that. Let's see. We'll call this variable new turn, and that record is a turn record. Okay. So then. Yeah, do we need to set... We're going to need an updated game cards collection as well, right? Because we're doing this. So... let's set next turn fields. This is going to be a little bit redundant, but I got to look at what happens when we create a turn. Game player drawn count. Okay. I'm just going to grab a screenshot of that so I can remember what we did. Game player drawn count. Let's set next turn fields. So next, oh goodness, oh, new turn, game equals game ID. Player equals next player dot ID. New turn drawn equals game card. Get next game card ID, and drawn count equals draw count. So we're going to be setting all of these each time. mostly just for the drawn part. And then when we create next turn, we're going to use all values from a record for a new turn. Before we start the new turn, we also need to flip over the card, right? And the question is, do we want that on the game, or do we want that on the game card, right? Because the game card could indicate what, what it is. But if we put it up on the, it stays in the discard pile, right? It goes to the discard pile. It's referenced on the game, and a color is referenced on the game, because if a wild card comes up, that's the current card or the current game card. Then we need to know what color we're supposed to play. So redundantly, might put the color, even when we pick the card, we might put the color on the game as well, because then our logic, when it's time to decide what are we allowed to play, we'll have that at the same place rather than having to say, well, if it was wild, go here. If it's not, go somewhere else. So we'll go with that. Yeah. Okay. This is activated. Let's do it again. I guess that's the other thing too. When we flip that over, that could be the first turn, but it doesn't have a player. You have to have a turn for a player. A turn shouldn't exist if a player is not assigned to it. And I don't want to get into the business of, well, we'll just always create a player record when a player record for the admin when we do that now. So we may have to look. We will have to look. Our logic is here, right? If latest turn is null, then let's see. If latest turn is null, flip it over. Deal it out. First card, right? It's flipped over. That's the current card. It's going to drive a skip on the first player. See, it would really be beneficial because we're looking at evaluating the latest turn. If the turn, we're done with that. If the turn were there as the first, but you have to have a game and a player. Yeah, it could be the game, but the player, there's no player, right? Somebody's going to deal, and then that first, well, you could say, let's see. You could say that whoever is first, whoever's going first, the person before them is like the dealer, right? And then they're handing out the cards. And then their first turn, quote unquote, is flipping over the thing, right? But it's gonna be the next person's turn, and that could be fine, right? That could be fine, because then our create first turn, it's almost like we create the zero turn, right? As the person that precedes. So we would just get the person who's last in the players list and say, here you go. And then from there, yeah, that could work. We count it as a turn, but we don't. It's the turn that starts the game, not the turn that decides every turn, each turn after it. I think that could work. Did we run this yet? Come back to that in a second, but let's see. I'll debug this again. See if our values actually got populated. I like that because we basically it wouldn't be a real turn. I think we would just create, just initialize everything, right? So maybe it's like we give it a different action for that turn, and just say like start, right? Yeah, I kind of like that. All right, let's debug this. I got to think about that one. Okay. Did I grab a screenshot of that? I forget. I probably did already, but I just want to grab this for a post later. Okay, new game. We haven't done cards yet. We still have no turns. What's going on there? That shouldn't have happened. Should have gone down the draw one path. Oh, wait. I think this has to be only greater than, right? Because we'll set the draw index. Are we setting the draw index? Yeah, current draw index. Yeah, that's why we didn't get a turn, because it didn't hit. So, all right, we'll do this hopefully one more time. Okay. What? Still no turns? Come on. Oh wait, create new game. Yeah. That. Oh wait. I was debugging. Yeah, I was debugging the same instance. So let's do this again, I think. Oh, come on, no turns? What is the deal? Can I follow that through? I think this is where we're at. I'm glad that it debugs across or into the subflows, right? So we're doing our hands, create new turn. That's our game. Get latest turn. We didn't find a record. Is turn done? Not reversed. These are always confusing. Like, is reversed false equals true? All conditions must be true. Latest turn is null true. Okay. Get latest user, found record, player found. Yes. Next player. Evaluate latest turn. Evaluate latest turn. Skipped this outcome. Skip was skipped. Draw 2 was skipped. Default executed. Set draw count to 1. Draw count reached. Oh, see, this is no, I didn't save the. I don't think I saved the latest version. Yeah, that was my bad. Got a little confusing. If I was good, I would have a way to just run this isolated, like, which I get. So if I was smart, I would just remove the turn from the game we've created, pass it the game ID, and then it should, it should run as if. All right, let's go back to here. Let's debug from here. Hopefully we get a turn. Please. Come on. Boom, boom. Next. Done. Game. 17. Let's go. Yes. Okay. Drew a card. Blue 2. Probably the first card. Yep, blue 2. The thing is, like, the whole round, the whole deck is like preordained. So, we food for thought. Like, we could get to a world where the game could play itself, to a large degree. And only when the only decision points that need to be made are when, you have cards that are most viable to multiple cards that are viable to play, right? So if the card up is blue 2 and you've got a blue, or you've got a 2, or you've got a wild, what is the best card to play? That could be some interesting, I guess, AI stuff in the future, right? So if there was a way to track and say when, not really AI, but just like some machine learning data, when I had the opportunity to play multiple cards, and I picked this, and the outcome of the game was this, and the turn, so the point during the game, if that matters, right, was this. Could you feed that to some machine learning, and it could maybe start to predict what the best move is? I don't know. I don't know if that would ever really come true, because it's all, what do you say, non-deterministic? Is that, I forget my game theory rules or language. Anyway, it wouldn't. If the game is completely random, is there really any strategy? And strategy being like, if I pick this card, what outcome do I get the best outcome? But the other thing too is, like, even from a UI perspective, we could at least say, you you had this card, you played this card, right? And then the game could kind of cycle through a little bit until, well, that's the other thing too. Like, you so you could set up, you could have like an autoplay, like on the on the game. If it's set to autoplay, it just plays, the first most logical card for the player, and then maybe you could specify like, hey, what's best? Play wilds first. Dog wants in. Play wilds first. Play color match first. Like something you could put those kinds of rules in, and then the game would just crank right through players. But we'll get to that point eventually. For now, we'll leave it at some manual stuff. But so where are we now? We have our first turn in the game. Our player 32 has has a hand with some cards. We don't know what the initial card is. We have to do that thing, right? I don't know if we're going to be able to do that in 8 minutes, and I don't want to completely throw myself off the game here. We update game cards. Then so here I think we want to create zero turn, right? Or create the init turn. The init turn is going to be, and maybe part of me wants to put that in its own flow because it's just like so specific. I want to like kind of cordon it off somewhere, because what are we going to do? We're gonna query the players. Or actually, if I already have my players, I could sort again by, I could resort down here, sequence descending, right? Pick the first person, or even just requery for it. So get the first person, really get the last person, but top of the sequence. That's my player. This is the game. What was drawn, the top, get the top card of, or requery our game cards and get the top one game card that's in the draw pile, and move that to the discard, make that the current card, make that the current card color on the game, and kind of be done from there, I guess. Insert that turn, and then run the new turn, and then I think we're ready to play, right? So the first turn doesn't really count. We kind of just say that the last player in sequence is the dealer, and they get, they technically get the first turn, but it doesn't, it affects the real first player. If they do all that and drop a reverse card, then they're dropping a reverse card. That is what it is. And from there, that's then the game starts, right? And if it was a reverse or a skip, if they flip it over and it's a skip card, all right, well, so the thing with that turn is it's whatever's drawn is what's discarded, right? So it's the same card, and we'll change a status or an outcome or whatever we call that. So all good stuff for next week, or maybe in between. I don't know. Maybe we could take a minute and do some work on that. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm not going to sing you all a song, but appreciate you hanging out now or watching later. We'll finally get some stuff up on YouTube, because I've been a slug about doing that. But hope we can give a little more, got all of season 2 somewhere stored from the recordings. Hope to get as many put up as possible. We might have a few missing episodes, but again, appreciate folks hanging out. Appreciate you watching later. And I'm going to try to start getting some posts up for some of the shenanigans that we do out here. on medium or something like that. But for now, I got to take kid to hockey. Hockey in the summertime. Go figure. Thanks for coming. I'm Tom. You can't do that on Salesforce. Bye-bye.